Hello and welcome to the Argyle HR Solutions Expo. My name is Vicki Lynn Brunskill with Argyle. It's great to have everyone joining us today. Just a couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker for this session. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsor's virtual booth at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partner is committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience today. At any time during the event, you can visit the virtual booth from the main agenda page. Also, throughout today's event, you can win one of several prizes, so please do check out the prizes and raffle rules tab of the interface to see how you can earn points. And now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Jabi Ormazabal, Global Vice President of Product Marketing at Eightfold AI. We are so excited to have Jabi with us for a thought leadership presentation titled Talent Intelligence, Explore Eightfold's AI-powered platform. Welcome, Zabi, and over to you.
Hello, and welcome to this demo session for Eightfold AI. My name is Shabi Ormazabal. I'm the Global VP of Product Marketing at Eightfold, and today I'm going to be talking about an area of our product called Talent Design. Talent Design for Eightfold encapsulates a number of different things. First of all, skills design, role design, then market insights, or a market-informed view of the rising and declining skills and roles and their availability within your organization, and then talent planning, which is putting this all into an operational plan and being able to hire, mobilize internally, or apply any kind of strategy that you need to your talent across your business. For those of you who don't know Eightfold, Eightfold is a single AI platform for all talent. We're the global leader in a category known as talent intelligence, and we've been in this space for about 8 years. We are built upon a set of patented deep learning AI technologies that are purpose-built for talent. And as such, we really focus on all users and use cases across the talent life cycles, across the recruiter experience, candidates looking for their role using a personalized career site, managers talking to their TA leads and sort of planning what they need to do for hiring, employees in terms of their own skill development and career progression, contractors or hourly workers, and even citizen. We work with a number of different states and local government to help drive employment and bringing job seekers to job supporters and connecting them with employers and real opportunity. Across the bottom here, we have a couple of interesting organizations that we partner with across the spectrum. First of all, Heidrick Navigator, working with Heidrick and Struggles, we've built a super-powered succession planning and executive search solution built on top of Eightfold AI. With Ernst & Young Skills Foundry, we are helping drive the ability for EY to go to their customers and help them understand a deeper level of understanding of their skills and how to apply it across their business. Additionally, with EI, we're working on something called resource management for project-based work and how to staff and plan projects at scale based on the skills required within your workforce. With Josh Burson, we're working on the Global Workforce Intelligence Project, helping fuel insights to understand such industries as varied as semiconductors or fintech or the healthcare and nursing shortages and how these things are evolving over time based on our view of the market and what our AI knows about all of these trends and changes within skills and roles. With Gig Eagle, we've got the project with the Defense Innovation Unit helping mobilize 1.3 National Guard reservists in order to leverage their private sector skills for Department of Defense projects. And with Starbucks, we're really helping power their talent acquisition at scale, about 400 hires per day for their over 400,000 employees with over 300,000 partners or retail workers across their locations worldwide. When we talk about the space that we're in with talent intelligence, we think about it from a number of lenses. First of all, we know that organizations are built around robust systems of record that are built for stability with structured data, understanding the employee, their role, their job title, their job code, their cost center, when they're brought into the organization, et cetera. Really valuable data that's really anchored upon the job and position. Now, what typically happens is line of business requirements come in, point solutions come in that are built with HR to solve for specific needs, whether it's around sourcing of talent or assessing talent or performance management or any number of things. And what that eventually drives is a lot of siloed data, different places where the data that was used for that particular job to be done now resides. From our perspective, the true value and potential and power of applying AI to HR solutions is having systems of intelligence, which are really built to understand all of this data, using internal and external data, being automatic and self-updating, and ultimately driving the shift we see at the bottom of the screen from jobs and position to a more dynamic understanding of skills and talent, where to deploy that, when it's needed, by whom and where within the organization. Now, at the heart of this is our understanding of talent in that context of work. Our deep learning AI essentially is driven or sourced by three major data sources. First of all is the enterprise data of our organizations that work with Eightfold. Their HRISs, their human capital management systems, their applicant tracking systems, and so on. In terms of market data and public sources, this is a very large data set, vast, of over 1 billion anonymized and aggregated career trajectories, over 1 million skills, over 750,000 unique roles and titles, and a deep understanding of the trajectory, the potential, the probability of people to change and move roles based on different cohort analysis and where they're based in their organization and in their career. That matched up with public sources of data can also further enrich understanding of a candidate profile, of an employee profile, and drive even more understanding. The third leg of this data set, or the three data sets that come into deep learning AI, are user interactions. So the way an organization uses Eightfold, how they calibrate their roles, and we'll see an example of calibration in one of the demos that I'll show later on, how they define the skills and the proficiency levels required, how they match to their talent pool from former candidates to candidate rediscovery, net new candidates that they've sourced from different places. Also, whenever an employee creates their profile in Career Hub in the talent management piece and defines the skills and the qualifications that they have, and they sign up for projects and they do different things based on that interaction, all of that feeds the constant user interaction piece. Candidates as well, they come in externally and apply through a personalized career site. All of this is feeding the deep learning AI from these three different sources to ultimately better understand individuals, their candidate experience, the job matching, career development, and so on, as well as organizational intelligence. How do you source and screen? How do you do skill-based planning? How do you manage a talent marketplace? And many other capabilities. So with all of this deep learning AI and these different elements that come together around talent intelligence power a platform. And this is kind of a view of all the things that we do. At the base, we have those three data sets. Then we have our talent intelligence platform that sits upon it. And I'll be talking a lot about the third layer here, the light blue one, around talent design and planning. Once the talent design and planning stage happens, which is also continuous to the others, you get to the top level, which is around operationalizing your talent strategy and your plan. How do you then go acquire and hire or source or manage talent through the different stages of the funnel, from initial source to bringing them onto your organization? Talent management, how do you plan for internal mobility? How do you upskill your employees? How do you allow them to self guide their career development with better recommendations around training, around projects, around gigs, around mentorship, etc. And Talent Flex, how do you do this for your contingent workforce, which can be very sizable for many organizations? And finally, resource management. How do you apply AI and this deep understanding of skills to project-based work? Things that are temporary, that don't have not permanent roles, but that require a deep understanding of the skills availability, what's on the bench, what can you apply today, what you need to develop, et cetera, in that context. And the top layer of this is our copilots, generative AI workflows for users. That is kind of the bedrock of our customer experience moving forward. So I've talked a little bit about the shift from systems of record to systems of intelligence. I've talked about Eightfold and what we do with talent intelligence and how our platform comes together. Now I'd like to talk into a little bit about the problem set around how people are seeing the need and the urgency to deploy skill-based strategies. So we know, for example, that 52% of CEOs say skill shortages and tech disruption will impact profitability over the next decade. That's a stat from a global CEO survey from PricewaterhouseCoopers in 2023. Also, skills-based organizations are more likely to retain their top performers and also to place talent more effectively, is what Deloitte is telling us. And finally, it's not just top down. Also, the employee experience is very important. So half of employees would leave their job to learn new skills, and almost more than two-thirds, 71% of employees say training and development increase their job satisfaction with their current job. So it's really imperative to better apply skills-based strategies. But as we alluded to a little bit earlier and going deeper, today's tech isn't built for skills-based strategies. We have expensive and static frameworks. It requires external consultants to build these role and skills frameworks. They go out of date very quickly. We also have a changing workforce where the rearview mirror of historical data is less and less valuable because there's a lot of change in terms of the skills, the marketplace, what's required. And this lack of dynamic insights really prevents leaders to plan effectively. And finally, disconnected planning systems. You have some of this insight, you have some of these source systems with information around your talent, but then you turn to plan and actually implement something and you're back to spreadsheets or systems that don't connect at all to that intelligence that you have elsewhere. So what does a good skills-based strategy look like? Here are some of the foundational elements that need to come together in order to build a skills-based strategy. First of all, is having a dynamic skill and role framework, having that understanding of skills. What are adjacent skills? What are learnable skills? How are the skills interrelated? And what's the rate of rise and decline of those skills to really assess something that we'll show in the demo later, which is future readiness. What's the likelihood of a role being impacted or changing in the short term, or how that can also affect your pipelines of talent? Talent insights is really important to better understand that market-informed view of talent. Talent planning is when you then go and say, great, now I have identified what I need to do. How am I going to go across these different areas of acquisition, internal mobility, contractors, project-based work, and others to implement a plan? And finally, talent operations, being able to make this something that can be operationalized. It's not a broken process or a difficult workflow to implement. So with this Eightfold Talent Design, which is coming out in general availability later this year, we have kind of two elements here. We're talking about skills and we're talking about roles. So skills is around unifying, designing, and standardizing that skills vocabulary. Some organizations call this a skills taxonomy or skills ontology, and having a dynamic self-learning framework to track and identify skills gap. And that's about informing decision-making. The great thing about our solution with talent design is we can meet you where you are. You don't need to have an ontology created and built or a taxonomy. But if you do, we can ingest it and continually enrich it with additional information. But if you're starting from scratch, we can likewise help you with that skills identification, calibration, and role creation. And then roles. How do you create and calibrate and dynamically update these roles with the insights you need to improve your talent operations? So I've talked about Eightfold, talked about talent intelligence, talked about kind of the problem set here that we're looking to help solve. Now I'll go a little bit deeper into talent design. So one of the key ideas around talent design is this shift from more traditional ways of working with talent, which traditionally have been around organizing around jobs. What this means is that the job is at the heart of everything that's doing. If you don't have a rec, you don't have a program or a process that's being implemented. And the typical inputs you need are, what's the title of the job? What's the description? What's the suggested budget for hiring this person? What's the cost center department, hiring manager, et cetera? And the outcomes of this being centered on the job is typically it's inefficient. HR is an order taker and beholden to other parts of the business. It has a lot of decisions based around jobs and who they report to and where they fit in the organization. And they focus a lot on job title and level. And ultimately, it's inside out. You take one opportunity that you've defined with your job description, and you try to blast it out and send it out to as many candidates as possible. So you get a huge funnel, and then you whittle down and you hire one person for the job, and you move on to the next one. The flip side, or the new way of thinking about skills is really, and talent is organizing around talent at the heart of this process. So here, you would be thinking about skills and capabilities, personas and motivations of those different personas and how they want to experience their careers, adjacencies and learnability, work preferences and availability to do the work. And the outcomes would be more speed and more agility, HR as a more strategic talent advisor, decisions that are driven more around talent, and really focusing on work, tasks, and skills, things that need to get done, where it's going to get done and by whom, rather than a formal job. And it's really an outside-in way of working. It's maximizing the exposure of talent, which is our employees, our contractors, our talent pools where we're sourcing for potential talent, our silver medalists, our past candidates. We're maximizing exposure of all that talent to as many opportunities as possible, whether they're formal jobs or their project or their gigs or their learning opportunities or their mentorship, any number of capabilities there. So digging into this a little bit more, when we talk about talent design, it is about that intelligent talent framework for the future of work. We want to unify and manage our skills. We want to understand and benchmark those skills for future readiness to make sure we're hiring for the right things we need now, but also 24, 36, 48 months from now. Also, how do you improve operations with a calibrated role library? So you have a consistent calibration of roles and skills, you can be more accurate and relevant and less beholden to the perceptions or the biases of a particular hiring manager, or this is the way we've always done it, or let's take that old job description, copy paste it, and try to update it with outdated skills listed and requirements. So that's the importance of this calibrated role library. So when we think about the first step, which is skills intelligence or managing skills with AI, it's about unifying and standardizing these skills across your organization. It's having one set of skills that can inform both talent acquisition and talent management. We hear it all the time from customers where sometimes the talent acquisition organization operates very differently from the talent management organization, and they don't even have a unified set of skills. One is focused on who do I need to hire now, what positions I need to fill. The other is focused on how do I, motivate, maintain, retain, develop all of our different people across these different varying skill sets and types of roles. So two different types of organizations. Having that unified and standardized skills really drives much more cohesive working together so that it makes internal mobility much more of a partner to the talent acquisition function, for example, and being able to drive better outcomes. Normalizing the skills for every role by deduping and mapping skills equivalencies, the level of proficiencies, which skills are similar in between and adjacencies, and then also define those adjacent and in-demand skills through the AI-powered recommendations. One of the things we talk about a lot at Eightfold is our ability to identify from stated skills, inferred skills, and adjacent or learnable skills. So we say typically if a resume, say, for a candidate comes into Eightfold and there are 5 specific skills stated, we're able to infer an additional 12 skills, and we're able to identify another 15 adjacent or learnable skills. So we go from 5 to 32, a much richer understanding of the profile. And that concept or that adaptation or applying skills to the understanding of the candidate and the employee, the contractor, the gig worker is something that's consistent across what we do with Eightfold. You then benchmark your skills and roles. You want a holistic understanding of your internal skills and roles and an external view of market trends for data-driven decisions. You want to keep pace with industry trends and development skills and roles, and you want to align role and skills with industry insights. It's got to be something that's helping you continually evolve. And you see here in the screenshot in the upper right, a little gauge saying future readiness is 20 for this role of UX designer as it's currently defined here. We'll show that in the demo, an example of how that applies and what it can mean. Finally, improving operations with a calibrated role library. This calibration step is the precursor to internal mobility, to talent acquisition. It's where you have that view of a consistent and future-ready talent architecture and consistent set of roles and skills. And this can be automated from your internal external data, and you can dynamically update these roles and insights through continually evolving information that comes into the AI, into the data sets to understand from your talent pool, from your target roles that you're building, what's required. So I covered quite a lot there. I talked about Eightfold as an organization. We talked about talent intelligence. We talked about the view of what talent design is set to solve and what are some of the elements of it. Now I'd like to show you two demo vignettes to kind of bring this to life. The first one is going to be around this capability around market insights. So what we're seeing here is the ability to explore insights and trends in a particular industry, for example, high tech. We can see common roles being hired for, fastest roles and skills being hired for, what are the most common ones, fastest rising skills, and all this information helps us get a better understanding on the prevalence of these roles in the industry and the common skills. We can even say, I want to look at those skills or those roles rather in high tech that are most fastest rising. Or I can take a general view of those are static or declining, the whole mix. So within this, let's go into the first role, for example, the software engineer. And as I click into it, I'm going to have a view here of software engineering, software development, Java, the different skills that are related to the role. We're going to go ahead and review it, which means we'll pull it in and we're going to do a deeper analysis around this and really break out the skills and the proficiency levels required. And here at the top left is that gauge I was telling you before about the future readiness. So we see this role as it's defined, a software engineer has a future readiness of 72 out of 100. That means it's pretty lower likeliness to be disrupted than other roles. And this comes down to the definition or the selection of the skills that we have, as well as the proficiency levels that we've determined in our organization are needed for this particular role of software engineer. And what we have on the right is a comparison not only to what we're defined in our own role, but how it compares to our organization overall for software engineers, the industry of high tech, and the global fastest rising roles, how we compare to that in general. And you see slight different subsets of skills in each of those. It kind of informs our view. From here, we go to calibration, which is that last step I was telling you, the precursor to actually doing rec creation and hiring for a particular role. So here we have software engineer. We're going to define the details of the roles. We can look here at what's the degree of completeness of the calibration, how many candidates we have in our candidate pool that match, and their likeliness to respond. Here we go into those requirements that came from the previous definition, the skills and the proficiency levels. And I can tap into, for example, architecture, as in technical architecture. What happens if I make it a required skill instead of preferred? And I can see that my talent pool on the top right goes from 405,000 candidates to 66,000 candidates. So depending on your degree of requirement is going to impact your talent pool. And this allows the TA advisor, the recruiter, to work more strategically with the hiring manager to make these decisions of what's nice to have or what's absolutely required. From there, you would go on to prove the role. And again, this would kick off the workflows into going into the talent acquisition piece, managing your pipelines of talent, doing your candidate relationship management, your outreach, all the different things that you do at scale, all the things that go from initial intake to interview to evaluation to offer. The next scenario I'm going to show is around talent planning. So we talked about the need to not just do skills design, then role design, and also leverage in market insights from the overall market. But now we're going to plan and actually operationalize what you do with what you're trying to achieve across your organization and its alignment to strategic goals. So if I go to this first example here of a sample marketing plan, I can see how it aligns to a particular strategic initiative of digital transformation for this organization, for example. I can see some of the roles affected, to a copywriter, marketing assistant, a marketing specialist. I can see how many openings are planned and how many current folks are qualified, et cetera. If I click into the marketing plan, I've got two interesting views here. I can go to the people and see all of the employees that are currently a part of this talent pool. And I see as their second column there, the match score. I see Mateo, why he's a 4.5-star match for brand manager currently. It's a transparent AI. It's leveraging that and showcasing it to the planner. If I go to the role play view, let's go into managing the talent pool in the role-based view for the marketing manager. First of all, I can start to plan and say, okay, I need to get to 7 marketing managers, and I currently have 3, so it's 4 additional openings in my organization. I have this concept called match score thresholds, which can I can use that to widen or narrow my talent pool as needed. I then go into my recommended employees, and I see there's a second column now, not just how they match to their current role, but how they match to this specific future role. So this person, Robert, is a 4-star match for this marketing manager role, but he was a 5-star match for his current digital marketing manager role. So that can help us understand what are the gaps and where we need to upskill. If I go into the talent planning view now, I'm also going to toggle now between a talent plan to a scenario plan. A scenario plan is a little more forward-looking, broader in scope. So we're looking at this particular example. I can see the volume of the different planned openings, how many leaders we expect to have, how many successors we think are going to be impacted, and even folks who may need to be offboarded from the organization. As I go into this plan now, I've got a really interesting view on the right, which is additional detail into the plan overview as it relates to such things as the plan's opening, the number of planned openings or roles or headcount, the number of employees that would need to be offboarded or moved out of their current role in order to accommodate this plan, the total number of employees, their incumbents, successors, and so on. So this just kind of gives you an example of that step of talent planning, which is once you've done, again, the talent design based on skill design, role design, incorporating industry market insights, you then get into the planning, which is then going to build out to your acquisition, talent management, contingent, or project-based work talent management. So I've given you a lot there to think about and to look at. This is Eightfold. We are talent intelligence. I've talked about what that implies in terms of talent design, and I've shown 2 scenarios around talent planning and around leveraging market insights. One thing just to close on is we work with a lot of really incredible companies, and they are the ones that push us farther, wider to really develop what we're doing jointly with them even better and even faster. Organizations such as Netflix, leader in AI and having a big impact globally in their work. Companies like Bayer that have been with us for multiple years in the pharma space. Vodafone, that's done a really interesting transformation from being more telco-based to more software or project management based for all the different product lines that they're developing and the service that they're developing to their organizations. Also, organizations such as John Deere, who, like many other industrials, are moving from manufacturing to being a smart industrial, and also grappling with some pretty big industry changes such as electrification and how that impacts all of their systems. So with Eightfold, they're able to better source their talent and also better to manage or move their talent internally to mobilize and to always be focused on those top skills that they currently need to fill and target most effectively to drive the organization along that transformation. So with that, thank you so much for your time. Would love to tell you more about Eightfold. Thank you for listening to and enjoying this demo. Hope you have a great rest of your event.
Thank you. That was an incredible thought leadership presentation. We thank you for being here. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us today for this session as well. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. And our next session will begin after the break at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and that'll be a keynote presentation titled Human First HR Innovations, Strategies for a Complex Workplace Environment. And we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again, Jabi.